You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show. The preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the big show. We certainly appreciate you guys being a part of the big show. As always, for 16 years, 2,000 episodes, we've been bringing you the most smartest people, the brilliant authors who write the books that share with you their journeys of life, their lessons that they can impart to you and improve the quality of your life as well. So there you go. We've got an amazing new author on the show with us today. Lauralee Lindholm joins us. Her newest book came out January 1st, 2009, but she's making the best of it. It's called Out of Darkness into Light, Dramatic Saga in Orthodox Highlands of Ethiopia. Welcome to the show. How are you, Lauralee?
I'm just fine.
It's a wonderful time to have you. You had taken at one time, moved to Ethiopia in 1970. You taught rug weaving and Bible classes, and while your children were at boarding school, you camped in a tent to be closer to the people of Ethiopia. And you learned a lot from that journey and put it into your new book. Give us any .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Amazon or Barnes & Noble or eBay. I even run a store on eBay.
Oh, do you? There you go. A bookstore. Now, you run a bookstore in your full time, right? That we see the bookstore behind you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Ah, there you go.
It's in my house, in every single room of the house. And I mean every single room. So just think of the rooms in your house, and they all have books in them.
Wow. We love books on the Chris Voss Show. It's our favorite thing and our favorite guest as well. Give us a 30,000 overview, if you would, of what's inside your book.
My book tells the story of when we went to the mountains of Ethiopia, and it was an area that was time had forgotten. No foreigner had ever lived there. And we relived the book of Acts as God worked while we were there.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And it's quite the journey that you went on. So tell us a little bit. This is your first book, correct?
It is my first and only book so far, but I don't think it's my last book.
Yeah, there's always, we always have multiple books in us. So life is a journey of lessons and owner's manual to life. So all of us have books. We just have to sit down and write them. That's the main thing. Now, with your journey of life, how did you grow up? What shaped you? What influenced you? What got you into books and book writing, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, when I was a girl, I wanted to be a missionary. And I got in high school, and I met a young man who wanted to be one, too. So we went off to college and got married and had 3 kids. And then we said, it's time to get ready to go. So we did.
There you go. And so what drew you to Ethiopia? What was it about that?
We first went to Nigeria, where we taught at a high school. And that was okay. But we thought of all these people living out in the countryside who never had the opportunity to hear the Bible. And so when Ethiopia opened up as a brand new work, they wanted missionaries, team to come, a doctor, a vet, agriculturalist, and a rug weaving teacher. And my husband said, if Navajos can weave rugs, I can. So he read a book, and we went, and he became a rug weaving teacher.
Wow. Just like that. What was your hope to take and do and achieve down there?
They had sheep, and they weren't making any money off of them. They didn't use the hair. They ate the meat, sold it. Really, they didn't eat it. They couldn't afford to. But so the wool was something waiting to be used. And it really did change their lives economically. The ladies made money from spinning it and selling the wool. And then the men made money weaving the rugs.
There you go. And so you would teach them how to sell their wares or make the rugs. Were you guys helping them sell and export their rugs they're making?
Absolutely. They had no way to sell them where they were.
Yeah.
So we had a rug market, and they brought them, and we paid by quality. And it was amazing. If you paid more for better, they got better and better and better. And then we took them to the capital city, Addis Ababa, and sold them in various stores and markets.
Oh, wow.
And eventually, we're shipping them all over the world.
Oh, wow. And so you were able to help their community, help them build their community, bring financial interest to their community. What sort of effects did it have? Tell us about that.
What sort of what?
Effects did it have on their community
wow.
and enriching them? And
Yes. The ladies used the money to buy clothes for their children and send them to school and improve their lives. So it had a lot of effect eventually. For a while. That's what the story's about.
Ah, there you go. And so you detail your journey in the book. Can you tease out any sort of experiences that are in the book? Maybe give us a little snapshots?
Well, the area, everyone was an Orthodox Christian, Ethiopian Orthodox, which is somewhat like Catholic. And they had priests and laws, thousands of laws, which everybody learned the laws, but they didn't have happiness or joy or any of those things. They just had to keep all the laws. And everybody carried a stick for defense and to beat somebody else if you thought they were trying to take advantage of you. And so it was like the Wild West. And they were always one step away from poverty because they depended on rain for their crops, no irrigation. So if it didn't rain, then they starved. And if you've heard of famine in Ethiopia and seen those pictures of skinny people. And so we wanted to help them. Our agriculturalist and our doctor, they didn't have any medical care. And so this was something wonderful. And the vet took care of their animals. So in a lot of ways, we were making their lives better. But they still were carrying their sticks and fighting and having not such what we thought of as a civilized life. So we prayed for one person to understand the Bible and to really have a change of heart and a change of life. And we did. And he was a priest of his church, but he was also the head wizard of the area, which we didn't know anything about that. But until he brought his magic books and said, I want to burn my magic books in public.
Oh, wow.
That's when the battle started. And that's what the book is about.
Oh, wow.
Relived the book of Acts. It was a battle from beginning to end.
Wow. That's crazy. And the book of Acts, you're referring to the Bible, correct?
I am referring to the Bible, yes.
Wow. There you go. So it sounds like quite the journey that you went on through all of that. And how many years were you there?
18 in
18
Africa
years.
altogether. 12 of those were in Ethiopia.
Wow. And so do you mostly focus on your Ethiopia experience in the book, or?
Yes, it's absolutely all of it is the time reliving the book of Acts for a period of 6 years until we had to leave. The communists came and all the missionaries had to leave.
Those darn communists. They
Yeah.
ruin everything every
They
time.
do.
Every time with the communists. I used to hide under my desk from the communists, from the nuclear war drop bombs, and they ruin everything. They're working on Ukraine right now. They're just always ruining stuff. So, what do you hope is the lessons people are going to take away from your book and your experience?
My lesson is that we all wish we could have been with Jesus and seen all the wonderful things he did a long time ago, or the disciples and all the wonderful things they did. So amazing. But God is still doing similar things now. And that's a message of hope and encouragement to know that God is working behind the scenes today. And that this is a message of encouragement to anyone who's discouraged or wants to be a missionary or cares about people coming into the light.
There you go. And you learned 6 different languages while you
That's
were
true.
traveling, doing all this stuff. Wow.
Yeah, I heard on a statistic that if you learn another language, you live 5 years longer. But if you learn 6, you don't live 30 years longer.
Wait,
I
that seems
spent
like
all those years in school learning
Yeah.
languages, so I used up the 5 years already.
that sounds like a ripoff. You should get 5 years for every language you
I think
learn.
so, yes.
Yeah, that sounds like. I mean, that sounds like that should be. We should talk to some attorneys about that, because it's hard to learn languages.
It's
right?
very hard, yes.
Yeah.
And Amharic is a hard language. It looks like Chinese or something. The letters are very unusual, so it wasn't easy.
No, I mean, I have an hard time just learning English. I flunked that in high school. So there's that. So you wrote the book Out of the Darkness into the Light. You helped all these amazing people over 18 years, correct?
Yes.
And you helped them with their things. What's some of the things you can say to encourage people to maybe follow in your footsteps to do the same journey and go help people?
There really is nothing better than to be where God wants you to be and watch him at work. So you got to listen. You can't make up your own journey. But if God is nudging you to do something, you can be sure that he will equip you, take care of you, prepare you, and be with you all the way. And there is nothing more exciting or better. And I can give an example.
Okay.
I mentioned that one person believed and burned his magic books, but one wasn't enough in the long run. And he said, I don't think anybody else will ever believe. Muns is too bad, and they're all persecuting me, and I think I have to leave. So then we said, well, we were here 6 years, and we prayed for one, and you believed. Don't you think you can be with us, and we'll pray for more? So we prayed for 40, and we had a meeting. And in the government hall where our mission had provided the doors and the windows, and we invited priests and deacons where we had the clinics with the doctor and the veterinarian, and 100 of them came. And we provided straw on the floor, and an Orthodox priest killed a cow, and the Orthodox ladies cooked the meat. Everything was done right. And so we had this 5-day meeting, and we brought an evangelist from Addis Ababa to preach. And at the meeting, Priest Girma told how he burned his magic books, and they were all amazed because this wasn't a missionary saying this. This was a Munzie saying it. And after that, during the night, one after the other of the monk, starting with the oldest monk, started confessing all the things they had done. And they included everything you can think of: murder, rape, incest, theft, everything. We didn't know all the words, but figured out what was going on. And so the entire night, people repented and came to Christ. Well, that sounds like the end of a good story. Except 2 days later, they were all excommunicated from their church. And then the Orthodox Church accused us of stealing the arks from their churches and feeding everybody there donkey meat instead of the cow that we had the priest kill.
Oh, wow.
So they had a trial and said, yep, they did it. And they didn't let us go or anybody say anything in our favor. And so here we were. We had to leave as soon as all the good things happened.
Oh, no.
So, again, it was very exciting. We went to Kenya on a vacation and said, oh, are we ever going to get to go back? We didn't enjoy beautiful Kenya as we should have because we were so wondering if we could return.
Yeah.
But while we were gone, the people rose up and signed petitions and walked 2 days to the city, to the emperor, and took petitions and said, these are the only people who've ever helped us. We want them back. So they outvoted the trial, and we were invited back. So when communism took over and missionaries had to leave, we didn't have to leave at first because we were there at the permission of the people.
Well, awesome sauce. I mean, it's what a journey. Donkey meat. I'm just thinking about that in my head.
I know.
Ugh, that sounds good. I might have had that at some cheap restaurants in L.A. I'm not sure. I know sometimes if you went into some of the Chinese areas of food. They were always kind of interesting. I remember one of my friends was Chinese, and he's like, there's places you can go here and get dog, and I'm like, no, I love dogs. Don't do that.
Now, they don't eat dog, definitely.
Yeah, so there you go. But yeah, it's quite the journey. In all those 18 years, what was some lessons you learned the most out of those as to dealing with other people and learning about them, different cultures, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, we learned a lot of patience, waiting. I can give a good example. We wanted them to learn the power of prayer, and they never prayed to God for anything in particular. The priest prayed their memorized mass prayers. So we asked God, how can we show them the power of prayer? And we camped out in a little camp, a regular tent, and we had a circus tent that we met in. And for 3 years, we lived out among them in that way. And went home one day a week to have a bath and eat and get more food and stuff. But 6 days a week we were out. Mm-hmm. And so when we came back from one of those days away, our tent was open. The stuff inside was a big mess. A lot of it was gone. The guard was gone. And so everybody said, oh, no, now you'll leave. And our people are so bad and we're so sorry and everything. But we said, no, we're not going to leave. And they said, well, go tell the police in Mahameda, which is 2 hours away. We said, that won't do any good. They just think we're stupid, that we don't take good care of our stuff. We should have been there guarding it ourselves. Wow. So anyway, we made a list of everything that was missing. And it was a lot. And it was all our teaching equipment and our food and clothes and sleeping bags and stuff. So we made this list and went home and got enough stuff that we could survive. And then for 3 days, everybody came to say how sorry they were and that they loved us and wanted us to stay. And we said, God's going to take care of us. Don't worry about it. And we just prayed and said, God will take care of it. Well, then at the end of 3 days, somebody came and said, we found your stuff, we think. So we went and right out in plain sight in the community meadow where it had been raining for all the time was our stuff, dry, sitting out in plain sight. So we put it in the car and brought it back and opened it up and started checking it off against the list with all the people watching while we did it. Uh-huh. Everything was there. In fact, we didn't have everything on the list they took. We hadn't missed it yet. Huh. And that was when they said, God listens to you. He listens to your prayers. He doesn't listen to ours, but he listens to yours. So that was our answer. But it came in a strange way. That's how God works. You don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah. Did somebody maybe have the stuff and they decided to put it in the field? Because otherwise it would have been wet, right?
No, but I'll tell you a little clue. Yeah. We had Lomodal, which is synthetic opium for diarrhea, little tiny sweet pills. And we had 100 of them in a bottle, and they were all gone. We think they ate them. What would 100 synthetic opium pills do to your psyche? Might make you give it back.
Yeah, might. I don't know. We take those on Fridays around here, so
not 100 of them.
we don't remember what we take 200. But we never remember what happened the next morning. So that's kind of the key right there. Yeah, see how that works. You gotta love it. Well, this has been really insightful. What have I touched on that we should talk about and tease out about your book to people?
Well, actually, our life didn't end when we had to come home.
Well, clearly, because you're here.
Yeah,
I just
kidding.
I had to get that in there.
But we had to figure out, when a missionary goes home, what did they become? We don't carry on with our same job in America. So we had to figure out what to do. So a little house became available for sale for $8,000, which sounds impossible, but that was right back. That was in the 80s. And it was inner city Dallas. And so we bought it and rented it out. And then we got another one cheap. And then a man approached us and he said, you could finance these yourself. And he said, I will loan you the money to buy 5. And if you rent them to the people and you pay me back every month, then they will be yours after 5 years. So we said, okay. And he started us. And we ended up with 65 houses, cheap houses. We got them in HUD auctions because the market crashed.
Oh, wow.
And so we got all these little cheap houses, and then we sold them to the people. We were the bank. So instead of trying to get bank loans on these little houses, which nobody would loan them money anyway, and we didn't do any credit checks. We charged a lot of them on credit cards. Friends loaned us money, and we put them on, gave them a lien. And so those houses made us $1 million.
Oh,
And
wow.
so at the end of, but we hadn't collected it all. They're still paying us.
Okay.
We're able to go back to Ethiopia after 20 years to see what was going on in our absence. And we found, we found 12,000 members in about 15 churches. And we were thrilled. That was what
Wow.
they had, those fledgling believers we'd left who had been kicked out of their Orthodox churches, had been sent by the government as like Peace Corps. They were called Zamacha, to work with the country people to help better their lives. So they started churches everywhere they got sent. And so that's what we found, and we were thrilled. And they asked us if we would work with them with this new fledgling group of churches. And the leaders were in their late 20s and 30s, all of them, young people. And so we agreed. And we went 2 months on and 2 months off. And rented a house. They had a pastor's school, and we rented a house from a Muslim who had a second wife quarters. So the second wife quarters we made into a pastor's school, and they came off and on from the countryside. So for the next 18 years, we've helped them grow their churches. And today, there are 350 churches all over the country.
Well, good for you. You saw the fruits of your labor in spite of all those, challenges they threw there at you. And good for you. You saw how that turned out.
Well, you mentioned the books behind me. We started Heart for Ethiopia bookstore on eBay. And that was in 2006. And we have made $1,600,000 with volunteers off donated books and magazines.
Wow.
That's real money.
That's awesome. And all the more important that people are freaking reading. That's awesome.
They are. People buy books.
Isn't that amazing, man?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. We love people who buy books on this show. That's a big deal for us. And I just love that people freaking read. I'm so tired of seeing people that don't read. So there you go.
There's so many good things to read.
Yeah, and it expands your mind, expands your soul. It expands, it broadens your horizons. There's probably some quotes about reading and the way it can change your life, and I can't think of any because I'm not that smart, but there are people that are, so just Google it. So final thoughts as we go out on telling people how to pick up your book and check it out.
Yes, my book is an unrepeatable story of reliving the book of Acts, chapter by chapter. I quote verses from Acts and then tell how it happened again. And it was wonderful to live through and exciting. It was trip of a lifetime. And I want to share that and encourage people so they will know that God is working as powerfully today as he ever did.
There you go. There you go. Well, it's been wonderful to have you on the show, Lauralee. Give us your .com so people can look you up on the interwebs.
I have. It's called bookslauraleelindholm.com.
There you go. Thank you very much, Lauralee, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
There you go. Continued success. And thanks to our audience for tuning in. Order up the book where refined books are sold. It's called Out of Darkness into Light, Dramatic Saga in Orthodox Highlands of Ethiopia, out January 1st, 2009. Thanks, Minus, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss, one on the TikTok-y, and all those crazy places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.